Hello my friends, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm gonna do a chatty video. I haven't done one of these in a while. I've done palettes that live in my head rent-free before, but not for a significant amount of time. I haven't done many chatty videos, so let's just catch up with each other, catch up on palettes. I think there's a good amount of new and old in this video, so let's just get started. There are a good amount in this video, but there's always more. To know me is to know. I mean, I just love palettes. I'm such a palette girly. Like, I just love them. They bring me so much joy, and as large of a collection as I have, you just have to come to accept the fact that you just can't buy them all, you know? You can't catch them all. So starting off, oh, also, if you're wondering, this eye look was done using the Odin's Eye and Makeup Just for Fun Flora Story palette. I will have a 3 looks 1 palette with this palette probably before this video goes up, but anyway, okay, so let's just start off with a bang. This brand, Nomad, has honestly never really interested me that much. Recently, they've been coming out with color stories that I'm more intrigued by, that I think are more up my alley, more interesting, and I know they've had, you know, their fair share of controversy in the past. And then I honestly just wasn't checking for them. Maybe I'd watch people's videos here and there, but never even crossed my mind to buy it, like nothing at all. And then I saw and have been seeing people's videos using the Royal Europe palette, I think that's what it's called, and I think it's pretty fucking nice. I think it's nice. I really like the idea of having like a row of multi-chromes in the palette. I don't know how expensive it is, but if I'm not mistaken, it's not like super sky high in terms of price, even though there are 5, I think, multi-chromes, which is almost unheard of. I think anytime brands put multi-chromes in palettes, especially indie brands, the prices can just be like kind of a little bit insane. And so I like that about it. I like the depth. I like the jewel tones. Like, this palette really calls to me in a lot of ways, and I just watched Bad to the Brows video on this palette, and she, you know, really liked the multi-chromes, and I feel like that's always a stamp of approval. If Millie likes multi-chromes or multi-chromes in a palette, you know they're gonna be good. So yeah, I don't know if I would ever buy it, but definitely I've been thinking about it a lot. And then an older palette, this is quite old, maybe multiple years, or at least a year, the Cliona Dragon Fruit palette. I wanted this when it launched. I'm pretty sure I was unemployed at the time of this release, and I've almost bought this palette so many times because I love Cliona. I mean, who fucking doesn't? But the idea of having like a palette of Cliona shadows really excited me, and I love pinks. There are so many pinks in that palette. Like, even though it's an all shimmer palette, I don't know, I just constantly am thinking about it, and it's like $70, which is expensive, but I feel like my brain has, I don't know, the prices that I can justify I think that a lot of times are a little bit unhinged, if I'm gonna be honest. But anyway, I feel like $70 for an all shimmer palette from Cliona isn't so bad. And I know that they've talked on their Instagram, or I've seen on their Instagram, that they're coming out with a new palette soon-ish. I don't know much about it. I don't know if anyone knows much about it. And I'm really excited to see what that's going to be. But yeah, this is like 100% a palette that lives in my head rent-free, and I hope it never gets discontinued, because I do one day hope to purchase it. Speaking of an old palette, another one that I just have never bit the bullet on, but that one day will be mine for sure is the Blend Bunny Blends palette. It's difficult to justify it in any stretch of the imagination because it is a matte rainbow palette, and if there's one thing I don't need, well, it's, to be honest, it's a rainbow palette full stop, but a matte rainbow palette, like, I don't need that. I have every color, you know, like, and it's not even like a specific color story, it's just a rainbow palette. But I know how much I love Blend Bunny, and it honestly already, their palettes, if I have like a shimmer that I know I want to use but I need to grab for mattes to like build a look around it, I'll almost all the time reach for my Blend Bunny palettes just because I love them. I love the, you know, gradient and tones and shades, and I know I love their formula, so I just feel like I would get a lot of use out of it, and the completionist in me desperately wants it, but not yet. Maybe on a sale, I'm not sure. And then this is a new palette that at first I was like, no, could not be less for me. Like, I'm not interested in this at all. And again, once I started seeing people use it, I have become more and more intrigued. The Bella Beauté Bar Pastel palette. I'll put the name and the picture on the screen because I can't remember what, something garden, pastel garden or something. The idea of having an all pastel palette, kind of like a rainbow pastel palette in a way, does appeal to me, because then you kind of have like your transition shades, your blending shades all in kind of one, any shade basically that you might want or need kind of there, but also the shimmers in that palette look divine. They look so, so beautiful, and I'm really, really excited to see what Bella Beauté Bar is going to do in the future. And I feel like if I can find a picture of it, I'll put it up. I feel like I've seen kind of like a muted neutral palette from them as well. I think that might have been a recent release, but I'm excited to see what they do because I feel like I remember them being like a tiny brand, I think doing single shadows, and then they've kind of just like been growing and doing exciting stuff, and I'm really happy for them, and they're definitely on my list of brands to try, but also this palette in general is like making me think about it. Two older palettes that truly I'm shocked by how long I've like kind of wanted these. The Natasha Denona Bronze and Glam palette. I have a weird relationship with Natasha Denona's eyeshadows, and I'm going to have a pretty exciting Natasha Denona video coming. I'm not even gonna promise that it's coming soon, hopefully soon, but it's coming. Anyway, where I like the shadows, but I just have not been able to wrap my mind around the price of her palettes. To be honest, I know a lot of people don't agree with that. This is like a constant thing that I talk about on my channel, and I think they're good. I like the quality of her shadows, but something about them doesn't necessarily translate to Natasha Denona's prices in so many ways. And No. I'm pretty sure I've only ever received Natasha Denona's palettes as gifts for like Christmas, I think, from my parents, so I've never actually bought a Natasha Denona palette at least full price by myself. Again, keep your eyes peeled. Anyway, so it's they've always kind of been a thing that I've like lusted after and wanted, but never realistically in my mind was I going to bite the bullet and buy them. Like, I've contemplated making an order for Black Friday because I know that like she typically does pretty good Black Friday sales, but nothing has at the end of the day, it's a warm and cool toned neutral palettes, like, you know, so how much could I can't justify buying any makeup. I could literally never justify buying any makeup, particularly eyeshadow palettes, but especially those I can't justify buying. But I don't know, I just constantly think about them. They're kind of, maybe one day she decides, hey, I'm gonna make these, you know, unavailable, I'm gonna discontinue them, then I will decide to buy them. Maybe, who knows, maybe not, maybe next Black Friday. Similar, I should have put this after the Bella. Oh my god, I literally cannot talk today. I'm so thirsty, but I just want to finish this video and I don't want to take a break. Anyway, you don't care about my level of thirst. Get it together. Okay, so I should have put this one after the Bella Beauty Bar palette, but the Glamlight Ice Cream Dream palette, I think is what it's called. Again, I've wanted it for so long and have never... I even made an order from Glamlight when I bought the Chucky palette, and I still didn't buy it, but I've tried 3 Glamlight palettes so far, the 2 Scooby-Doo ones and the like Chucky one, and I really, really like their formula, like a lot, and that just makes me want this palette even more because I've tried their formula, I know that I like it, and again, like, it wouldn't be a standalone palette for me because it's like very light to mid-tone, but again, there's something about having like a lot of like lighter blending shades for like, I don't know, different looks. Like, you know, like the idea of having like a palette of like pastels where you can just like choose any blending shade you might need, you have it. But to be honest, I have the Blend Bunny palettes, and that basically is like kind of that idea. I have that idea with those palettes, you know, like realistically I have any light blending shade I could want because I have my Blend Bunny palettes, but that's not, you know, the mind doesn't always think rationally. Anyway, that's the palette I want. Okay. I wrote down any palette by Adept, which is still true. The Minka palette, well, the Heather Austin palette I've wanted, but I'm pretty sure that's completely gone at this point. Honestly, name an Adept palette. I have the Plain Jane, 9 Hydrant, and Codan. Those are the only palettes I have from Adept. Well, I just mean those are the palettes I have from Adept, but I've never made another order because number 1, their palettes are so expensive. Number 2, shipping is so expensive. So it's a pretty fucking penny to buy anything from Adept, especially if you're not located in the US. And again, so many options, sometimes the most expensive ones and the ones that are the most difficult to get for me end up not being the ones I choose. My camera decided that it was getting too hot, so it shut off, but I was talking about the Glamorous palette from Glaminatrix. Pretty sure this is also discontinued. You can't get it anymore. They're not restocking. But I thought this was a really, really beautiful color story. I loved the shimmers that were in here. I have the Nocturnal palette from Glaminatrix that I need to do a 3 looks on palette with. And so I've tried their formula and I know that I really, really like it. But, I mean, first of all, I couldn't get this palette even if I wanted to. But their palettes are also expensive. Also, the Nearly Natural palette, that really is just on my, again, living in my head rent-free. I love it. I love that palette so much. Or at least I love the look of it. I haven't used it before. Glaminatrix, if you want to send me PR, holler at your girl. Okay. Also, Shrouded's Frickin' Bats 3. Shrouded's Frickin' Bats, Halloween, and Moonfall. Wanted them since they released. Well, Moonfall is new. When Moonfall released, and even when it recently restocked, I was like, is this my time to try Shroud? I almost ordered all 3 palettes, but then I was like, no, I won't be doing that. But in the future, maybe. maybe in a couple pay cycles from now. But I mean, I love the color story of It's Frickin' Bats. Halloween as well. I mean, I also just love Betty Jean. I love the color stories of the palettes. I'm really intrigued to try Shroud, and now this new Moonfall palette looks really, really pretty. So yeah, I've been thinking about those constantly. I know that like some people, like, it's kind of hit or miss, it seems, with Shroud's formula. Some people really, really love it, and some people really do not get along with it. But anyway. Also, I feel like it makes me sad. I feel like more people should talk about this palette. But the Sydney Grace and the Fancy Face Tropicolor palette, I'm pretty sure is the name of it, released maybe last summer. And again, I love Tina so much, and I really wanted to support her by buying this palette. But again, Sydney Grace is expensive shipping, you have to pay customs, the palettes are expensive. So I might buy this and the Tiny Marbles palette during Sydney Grace's Christmas in July sale. And I have the Temptalia palettes from Sydney Grace, and I really enjoy those a lot. I really particularly like the mattes. The shimmers are really nice and metallic, but they're not like super sparkly, so it's kind of about personal preference. I generally prefer like more sparkly shadows, but they're still really nice palettes, and I love using them. So yeah, this is definitely one that I've thought about a lot. And then the Cosmic Brushes Serenity palette. Who hasn't? Whose head has this palette not been living in rent-free? Does that make sense? You know what I'm saying. I've just basically heard nothing but amazing reviews from it. The color story looks so beautiful. Surprisingly affordable. One day. Again, this one day will be in my collection. Today currently is not that day, but one day. And then finally, the Fantasy Cosmetics, or Fantasy Cosmetica, not 100% sure on that. Honestly, all four of the palettes that they have the Bard, the Fairy one or something, the one that's like green and brown, and then the one that's blue and pink, and then the most recent one that's like blue and purple. Don't know the names, I'll put them on the screen, but you know what I'm talking about. Honestly, from the jump, they seem to have a really beautiful formula. At least the shimmers look really beautiful. And because I'm kind of a nerd, I have played a lot of Dungeons and Dragons with my friends, particularly when I was in university, but the theming of this brand just makes me so happy, and I almost honestly have bought some of these palettes for my friends as gifts, and maybe I'll still do that. But I think the color stories are beautiful, the shadows look beautiful, and I know, like, I love the theming. It makes my heart happy. But I know that they are, like, not reformulating, but kind of configuring their palettes to have removable pans, which is very intriguing to me. I say as if I'm a single shadow girly, which I'm trying to be, but I'm not, if I'm being honest. But I kind of want to wait until they actually do that, or if they put all their palettes on sale, but they might not do that because I don't even know if they're all in stock. But anyway, one day I really want to try this brand because they're really exciting, and I feel like there are so many brands coming out all the time, coming out with new stuff, and they really kind of like have made their mark and made their impression, and that's always a really exciting thing. Okay, and this concludes this video. Am I in the middle of the screen? I'm not sure. Again, hopefully a shorter and sweeter one, but I just have a constant list of, like, that's thousands of feet long, it feels like, in my mind, of all the palettes that are on my, like, wish list. So sometimes it's fun to just talk about them because I'm pretty sure, I don't know if I've talked about a lot of these before. Some I definitely have, but this is like my updated forefront of my mind wish list. Please let me know what palettes are on your wish list, what palettes live in your head rent-free, because if you have any of these and you love them or you hate them, please let me know. I mean it when I say there is like literally nothing else that I love more than talking to you guys about eyeshadow and makeup. So let me know. Thank you so much for watching, and I would love to see you in my next video. Bye.